Every year, new awesome roller coasters open, and that usually means us coaster enthusiasts have to change up our top 25 coaster list. And out of the 430 different roller coasters that I've ridden, here is how I rank the top 25 that I've experienced. And this year, there are quite a few changes to this list thanks to Top Thrill 2, a coaster that I'm very blessed to have been able to ride 4 different times. Starting off, Theme Park Brandon's top 25 coaster list is number 25, Pantheon, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. And this Intamin multi-launch coaster has no change in position from my top 25 in 2023. What can I say? Intamin is my favorite manufacturer, and I really do love Pantheon, especially all the money that Busch Gardens Williamsburg dumped in for this coaster's awesome theming. Now I'm being sarcastic, of course, but Pantheon is awesome from start to finish, and in my opinion, the only thing that makes this shuttle coaster not higher in my rankings would be some more trees around the ride, and again, most importantly, some theming. My favorite part of Pantheon would have to be just how intense the swing launch is, and of course that vertical spike, especially when you're sitting in the very back row. Now I am sad about this one, but dropping 4 spots from last year is number 24, Phoenix at Knoebels. As much as I love Phoenix, and I have loved it ever since my first rides back on it in 2004, this PTC Double Out and Back Classic coaster has sadly dropped in my rankings from past years. As for the reason, well, I normally experience Phoenix during the ever so awesome Phoenix Fall Fun Fest that Knoebels offers in early October. And this amazing wooden coaster is running at its best during that event, and night rides are just top notch. But sadly, I have not been able to make it to that event over the last couple of years, so I really hope that changes soon. My 23rd favorite coaster in 2023 and now 2024 is Lightning Rod, Dollywood. You know what is sad? If Lightning Rod still ran the way it did when it first opened up, then it would be much higher not just on my list, but everyone else's. And while the launch is gone, and you have to travel up the enormous lift hill via chain lift now, Lightning Rod is still a top 25 worthy coaster for many of us. But my biggest issue with this RMC coaster is how rough the topper track sections are. Now, if Dollywood would just convert the rest of the topper track to the new iBox track, then Lightning Rod will become my favorite in the park and much higher on this list. This next coaster did not rise or fall in my rankings this year, and that is how good this Intamin coaster is. Number 22, Storm Runner Hershey Park. Sadly, you can now only experience a few of the Intamin hydraulic launch coasters here in America now that Kingda Ka is getting removed. So it will be interesting to see what Hershey Park decides to do in the future with Storm Runner, a pedal-to-the-metal launch coaster that offers one of my favorite inversions ever, the Flying Snake Dive. Seriously, it's awesome, especially in the back row. Storm Runner is almost always regarded as a top 3 coaster at Hershey Park, and once you get to experience it, you're going to understand why. Dropping 2 spots this year is number 21, Twisted Timbers, located at King's Dominion. Maybe it's just me, but Twisted Timbers will be much higher on my list if it was easier to re-ride. And sadly, I understand why the park needs the metal detectors and the lockers, but for me, in my opinion, it makes riding Twisted Timbers a little bit more time consuming and a pain in the butt. But once you look past that, this RMC hybrid coaster offers some amazing airtime and one of my favorite first drops ever created, the barrel roll down drop. Seriously, the first half of Twisted Timbers is phenomenal. Those 3 back-to-back airtime hills are amazing. Now for a shocking placement, dropping 6 spots is number 20, Magnum XL200 at Cedar Point. Now I get it, not everyone enjoys Magnum. I have always loved riding the world's first ever full circuit hypercoaster ever since my first rides on it back in 1993. And while I still love Magnum, I didn't get the best rides on it in 2024, and I just came to appreciate the next few coasters on this list a little bit more this year. But with that said, the view that you get from Magnum's first drop is just spectacular and breathtaking, and this coaster is still one of the best that you're going to find at Cedar Point. Jumping 2 spots is number 19, Thunderhead, located at Dollywood. what this Tennessee park has been able to do with their 20-year-old GCI Twister is just fascinating. I have ridden Thunderhead a bunch this year, and the truth is, it's running like it was back in its opening year in 2004. Dollywood has done a fantastic job on making this out-of-control wooden coaster super smooth and enjoyable in 2024, and for those reasons, it makes Thunderhead my #1 coaster from GCI and my favorite coaster at Dollywood. Staying put at the 18th spot again in 2024 is Phantom's Revenge, located at Kennywood. This Morgan/Arrow hypercoaster is the main reason why you need to add Kennywood to your 2025 must-visit park list. Phantom's Revenge is top-notch, and just by looking at the layout and the aerial views, I get it. Phantom's Revenge does not look all that, but trust me, this layout delivers in every aspect. I just recommend riding Phantoms at night for the best overall experience. Number 17, Boulder Dash, Lake Compounce. Sadly, the CCI Out and Back coaster dropped 5 spots this year, and a large reason why is I've not been able to ride this coaster in a few years now. So that's going to be changing next year for sure, because I love Boulder Dash, especially the way the coaster interacts with the terrain and how it flies along the side of a mountain really is something special that I hope that you get to experience firsthand soon. Gaining 1 spot happens to be my favorite B&M hypercoaster. Number 16, Thunder Striker at Carowinds. Okay, I'm just kidding. Enough of the comedy here. Number 16 is definitely Mako SeaWorld Orlando. And I'm going to be honest, while Mako's second half really doesn't do much for me, it's all about how good the first half of Mako really is. Airtime, and more airtime. SeaWorld Orlando and B&M really created one of the best hypercoasters in the world when the park debuted Mako in 2016. And when I ride Mako, you can find me in the very last row and on an outside seat. And my favorite part of Mako has to be that speed hill. Something about it is just flawless. Also, jumping up 1 spot is number 15, Wildcats Revenge, located at Hershey Park. Even though I did not ride Wildcats Revenge this year, I was able to experience it over 20 times last year. And with my friends Katie's Coasters and Richard from Theme Park Motivation telling me that Wildcats Revenge is running so much better this year than last, I now need to visit Hershey again next year. Wildcats Revenge is pure awesome, and I love the pre-lift segment, something that in my opinion doesn't get talked about enough. Staying at Hershey Park for number 14, for Sky Rush. And just like Wildcats Revenge, Sky Rush jumped up a spot for me. And now that this insane intimate hypercoaster offers new restraints that are even more comfortable than the originals, I really do need a plan to get back to Hershey Park in 2025. Sky Rush, in the back row, sitting on the outside seat, will change your life. Seriously, this intimate hypercoaster is trying to chuck you out of the ride with its insane airtime, and this experience is just honestly hard to describe. I will always love and appreciate Sky Rush, mainly due to the ride's amazing first drop. Staying in the same spot as number 13, Time Traveler, Silver Dollar City. Mock Rides really does need to build more of these extreme spinners because Time Traveler is just about perfect. The whole experience of the controlled spin just works so well for Time Traveler and makes it a very enjoyable and yet very re-rideable coaster. There is a reason why everyone loves Time Traveler, especially the first drop out of the station just adds so much to this coaster. Dropping 1 spot is number 12, Outlaw Run, Silver Dollar City. This was my very first RMC coaster and I was able to ride it during its opening year in 2013. And after riding it 10 years later, this coaster does not miss a beat. I really do love terrain coasters, especially the ones that are in the woods. And Outlaw Run features 3 inversions, some great airtime moments, and just a wild ride that's built in the woods, which makes Outlaw Run my favorite coaster at Silver Dollar City and the entire state of Missouri. Number 11, Wonder Woman Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Dropping 1 spot sadly, but it's not because I don't love this RMC single roller coaster, because trust me, I love this ride. especially after falling in love with it when I was able to ride this coaster 10 straight times in 30 minutes back in 2023 during the Must Experience Roller Coaster Rodeo coaster event that everyone can attend, and I highly recommend you doing so. Now, the crazy thing about Wonder Woman is that it takes less than 30 seconds from the time the train leaves the lift hill until it reaches the final brake run. This is one of, if not the most intense coasters that you can ever experience. And I love that Fiesta is spending the money on this coaster to make it smoother and more enjoyable for all of us and to keep it around much longer. Now, before I share with you the top 10 coasters that I've experienced, be sure to check out keepridingcoasters.com for affordable and comfortable coaster gear for you to wear in the parks. And I really do appreciate all the support, and I love seeing my merch in the parks. Number 10, the Voyage Holiday World. My goal in 2025 is to get some more rides on the longest wooden coaster here in America that only features one lift hill. And do not judge me, but I've yet to ride the Voyage at night. I know, shameful, I'm not proud of that at all. And that's practically a coaster sin right there. But nonetheless, the Voyage is one of my favorite coasters ever due to the elevation change, the airtime, and of course the 390-degree turns. It's crazy to think that Voyage is almost 20 years old. Kudos to Holiday World and the Gravity Group for creating one of the best coasters ever. Number 9 is Intimidator 305, Project 305, and now known as Pantherian, located at King's Dominion. Here's a fun fact for you. King's Dominion has changed their Intamin Giga Coaster's name as many times in the last year and a half as I have with my channel name. And even with the name changes, Pantherian is still one of the best coasters ever built. The first drop is also one of the best, especially in the back row. But what I love and appreciate the most about KD's Giga is the sense of speed that you get as the train whips around the turns. And even though it dropped one spot for me this year, this coaster is still a top 10 for not only me, but for most of us. That is how good it is. Especially night rides, because it's pitch black out there. Trust me, I cannot recommend visiting KD enough on a hot, warm summer night and get night rides on this Intamin Giga. Number 8. El Toro, Six Flags Great Adventure. Previously, this Intamin Prefab Woody was my 7th favorite coaster, but not anymore. After riding El Toro ever since it opened up in 2006 and until now, this Intamin coaster still offers the best drop that I've ever experienced when you're riding in the very last car of the train. El Toro also offers my favorite airtime hills ever. And while we mourn the loss of Kingda Ka, at least we still have El Toro to enjoy for now. And now for a placement that might shock a lot of you. Number 7, Steel Vengeance Cedar Point. What can I say? I really do love and enjoy this hybrid coaster. And while a lot of us have Steel Vengeance ranked higher than I do, the only reason why it's not ranked higher is I feel like the layout is almost too long for it and it begins to feel repetitive. And obviously, that's just me being a little bit nitpicky, but just like Twisted Timbers at King's Dominion, the whole metal detectors and the whole locker setup really affects my ability to really fall in love with rewriting this coaster. However, with that said, the first half of Steel Vengeance is top notch and it's just amazing. Number 6, Maverick Cedar Point. Maverick will always be one of my favorite coasters ever. Even though this Intamin Blitz coaster isn't very tall, it offers a layout that pleases everyone. If you love speed, Maverick has you covered. If you enjoy graceful inversions, Maverick has you covered. If you enjoy airtime, Maverick has you covered. And if you enjoy an intense launch, then guess what? Maverick has you covered. In my opinion, Maverick is just about perfect. I really do love the small trains and how they navigate the track so quickly. It really just adds so much to this ride. I really hated dropping this next coaster one spot, but it had to be done. Number 5, Fury 325 at Carowinds. I've said it in my past videos that Fury 325 is running the best it ever has ran this year in 2024. And it's true. Fury 325, for whatever reason, has been hauling its way throughout its gorgeous layout. The world's tallest coaster that features a lift hill also happens to not only be the best Giga coaster in the world, but also the best coaster ever designed by B&M. Going down that first drop never will get old, especially in the very front row. And now for the one coaster that is solely responsible for dropping the last 5 coasters 1 spot each on my top 25 is number 4, Top Thrill 2, Cedar Point. I know I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful for my rides on Top Thrill 2. Over the coaster's opening weekend, I was able to get 4 rides on it, 2 in the very back row and 2 in the very front row. And some of you might think that I'm crazy for ranking this Zamperla Stratocoaster so high, but I really do love it from start to finish. Even though Top Thrill 2 only operated for 6 days in 2024, this coaster, in my opinion, offers the 2 best coaster elements that you're going to find at Cedar Point: the vertical spike and the top hat. Once you're able to experience the vertical spike, you'll know what I'm talking about. Looking down at all the other rides and coasters really is just insane, and I cannot describe the feeling that you get, because you're up on that spike what seems like forever. But my favorite part of Top Thrill 2 has to be the airtime that you get as the train travels over the top hat. For someone who has ridden the original Top Thrill dragster dozens of times, the feeling that you get going over the top hat on Top Thrill 2 is so much more intense. Plus, I gotta say, I prefer the Zamperla trains over the original Intamin trains. Number 3, Arie Force One Fun Spot America Atlanta. While Arie Force One is not my favorite coaster out there, it is the one that I enjoy re-riding the most, mainly due to there never really being a line. In my recent visit to the park, I spent 4 hours there and I got 25 rides in on this RMC iBox coaster, and the more I ride it, the more I love it. Now I know not everyone's going to agree with me on this, but everything in my opinion about Arie Force One is just perfect. Let me say that again. Everything about Arie Force One is just perfect. But what I love most about it is the coaster stall inversion, the outward bank turn, and the double up that leads into the barrel roll, aka the arcade roll. I cannot express how much I love this sequence of Arie Force One. In fact, it's my favorite coaster sequence on any ride that I've ever experienced before. Do yourself a favor and go spend a few hours at Fun Spot Atlanta and get some serious laps in on this masterpiece of a coaster. Trust me, you will not regret it. Number 2, Velocicoaster, Island of Adventure. Just like how Arie Force One is my favorite coaster to re-ride, Velocicoaster is my favorite coaster to experience. From the theming in the queue line and around the ride, to the pre-shows and the whole environment around this Intamin multi-launch coaster, Universal created the perfect coaster attraction. Velocicoaster's first half is a twisted mess of inversions and steel track, but it's the second half that really takes it up a notch, starting with that awesome mid-course second launch. This is where Velocicoaster skyrockets up people's rankings, and for good reason. The top hat is fantastic, the coaster's stall inversion does not get talked about enough, and the Mosasaurus roll over the Iowa Lagoon is first class. Now if you enjoyed this video, then all I ask you to do is please take 1 second to give this video a like. That is by far the best way that you can help support my channel, Theme Park Brandon, and I really do appreciate each like. Number 1 is Iron Gwazi Busch Gardens Tampa. While it is shorter than Vengeance, this coaster is just better in my opinion. Iron Gwazi offers a better first drop, a better outward bank turn, and better inversions. But where Iron Gwazi really stands out is its barrel roll down drop and that wave turn. Both of these elements are just flawless and perfect. In my opinion, Iron Gwazi offers a near perfect layout, and even though it's on the shorter side, the train hits every element perfect in my opinion, which makes it my number 1 coaster. Now if you consider yourself a coaster enthusiast just like me, then you do not want to miss out on learning about these top 10 parks in the world that are for coaster lovers. And you can find this showcase video at the bottom of your screen. So what are your thoughts about my top 25 list, and what are some of your favorite coasters? You know what to do, let me know in the comments. This is Theme Park Brandon. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.